that. But anyways, I'll record it in case there's something I say you forget or whatever. And if so inclined, you want to watch this at your leisure, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay, so here are so here's number 2 of your practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so and we'll just kind of go through the question and we can just chat about it, and hopefully someone else will show up and offer their opinion as well. All
right.
So it says determine the null alternative. Explain what it would mean to make a type 1 error, what it would mean to make a type 2. So we're told the standard deviation of a pressure gauge is 0.9. The quality control manager feels the pressure viability has been reduced. Okay, so why on earth am I gathering data? You know, I expect it to be 0.9. Somebody else tells me, hey, I think it's different. I think it's reduced, and so now I'm motivated to go collect data. So I want to see if it actually is different than what I think it is. So that first question up there about your hypothesis, that you got that one right. Your null hypothesis is that it's equal to 0.9, and because he said reduced, that means that I expected. I'm trying to gather evidence that it's less than that. Okay. Now, when it comes to type 1 versus type 2 error, well, I went out to gather data because I suspect something has changed. So type 1 error occurs when I go out and gather and I suspect it, and I think I'm successful, but I really shouldn't have been. So if you go back to your null, when I think the alternative is true, so I think it's less than 0.9 when it actually equals 0.9, that's what we call a type 1 error. Okay, and that's just, out in the real world, that's just a measure of randomness. So I'm really excited that I think I've got a statistically significant sample, and it turns out I was lucky instead of significant, if that makes sense. So the choice A is the type 1, so the manager rejects the hypothesis at 0.9 when in fact it is the true pressure. So in other words, he thinks it's less than 0.9 because my evidence suggests that way, but he really shouldn't have. That would be a type 1 error. Type 2 error is the other way around. That's where I think the null is true when really the alternative is. So I think it is 0.9 when it actually is less than 0.9. I just wasn't successful gathering evidence. So in that case, that would be where the manager fails to reject 0.9 when in fact it really is less than 0.9. That makes sense? So type 1 is think H1 is true when really it's false, and type 2 is think the null is true when really it's false.
I got it.
And they just have to logically put in context what that would mean given, in this case, the 0.9 and the pressure variability. So, anyways, any question on that one, or?
No, I get it. Yeah, that's the one thing I was confused on, the type 1 and type 2. But I understand it now.
Okay. This was number 3 then. Suppose the null is not rejected. State the conclusion based on that. 6 years ago, 12.5% of registered births were to teenage mothers. A sociologist believes that the percentage has decreased since then. What is the correct conclusion? Okay, so translating what that means, it says 6 years ago I expect 12.5%. The sociologist thinks it's less than, and they're telling me that the null is not rejected. The sociologist thinks it's less than. What is that? And they're telling me that the null is not rejected. The sociologist. All right, hold on. That is. What is that? There's an echo. They're telling me that the null